Okay, so returning to the Catholic Lederhosen. Are you serious? I did not know that the whole time we were there in Munich. Oh, there's not deviant Germans. I thought the Bavarians were the quote unquote true Germans. And you're telling me that they're Catholic?
No, they are Catholic. Like most of them are Catholic. Maybe somewhere like up to north of Bavaria, but no.
They cannot sit well with like the Martin Luther squad of German Christianity.
Although, come to think about that, it makes sense, a lot of sense. The Pope, the Church.
Sexualized leather pants.
Yes.
The Catholic Church is playing a long game with German national clothing.
Yeah, especially like at the office when you see them.
It's a major revelation today, because I was looking at all of these cathedrals in Germany, and like they are so Gothic, they can be possibly Catholic, yet here we are.
I mean, like, I just never thought of that before. I'm also disturbed slightly, as if there weren't enough disturbing things about the Catholic Church to start with. Wait, Artem, how many people? Can you just so I can put this to rest? At your office, can you give me a rough percentage of the people that would show up in Lederhosen on a semi-regular basis, at least?
It's not a regular basis. It's the end of September, beginning of October. They have like a few weeks. Yeah, they have a few weeks around the Oktoberfest. So, and for them, like the girls are like wearing their like dresses, and the guys are like with their like coming in like in lazy hoses, like just like normal like uniform for them. Not all of them, but like they're quite noticeable around. And very often, like it's not in the office, but if it's like a weekend, just all of them are in lazy hose around, like literally 100%.
So it's a literal leather marathon for most of September and October.
Yeah.
No wonder the country makes such weird porn. Okay.
But it's only in Bavaria.
Well, the quote unquote again true Germany. So,
genau.
That's a hard genau. Oh goodness gracious. I guess I need to present slides. New slides. Bottom. All right. I have no idea who worked on what, so we're going to be discovering this together. But
sure.
Today is what? The 11th of August. Oh my God.
It's a God's day. Nothing works in Germany.
You can take the Ukrainian out of the Germany. Aber. No, but seriously, this podcast and like another podcast that I was listening to, we had the same thing where about a month ago was the last hard recording. We were like, oh, what could possibly happen in the news? And then everything happened. So, yes, we could come up with stuff. I've left the best for last just because I feel like we're going to go in a real deep dive, just as the Ukrainians have. But we can start with the Olympics, I suppose. So the Olympics are happening, despite the French's best efforts to shit into the Seine so much that people can't swim in it anymore. And Ukraine's doing very well. So
because we don't swim there.
Apparently you can't. They literally made the Seine too. People were doing. They was failing all the tests. The triathlon, I think, couldn't compete in the Seine. But
they have better places in Europe for triathlon.
It's true. But I saw what Ukraine has. I think a good smattering of medals. There should be in the top 20 still. There was that high jumper that's now
22nd place.
Only 22nd.
It was 11, like a couple of days ago. Last I checked, and I don't remember. Oh, well, actually, I don't know why dropped to 22nd.
How much Olympics is left?
We're done.
I mean, still, the fact that what was it?
Yeah, we're 22nd. We have 12 medals.
Oh, I will do a service announcement, by the way, that I forgot about this, but thank you for reminding me. I've been working with Angela, and we have a good idea of the words that we're not allowed to use anymore on YouTube. I'm going to be strictly saying weird slang alternatives. So, instead of I'll beep all this out, but instead of, I'll be strictly using terms like unaliving, instead of I'll be saying hot Cosbying. We can think of other fun variants, but I'll have to bleep it out anyways. What was the other one? Oh, probably just gonna say like Avengers Infinity War, something like that the whole time. Just to say, because it's just literally tanking the algorithm. Like TikTok, where it's literally it's hundreds of views, and then as soon as a certain word pops up, it just drops down to nothing. It's probably Chinese and YouTube censorship, but that is what it is. But 22nd for the fact that the Russians did 400 some people that would have participated on the Ukrainian side, I understand.
Yeah, it was some like I need to check.
But also lots of good stories. Yaroslava broke a woman's world record that had been was like 30 some years, 37 years, no one could break it. 215 centimeters, which is in freedom units, I have no idea. It's definitely almost 7 feet, if not more. And you guys usually do well in what? Fencing, biathlon, probably wrestling. Anything else?
Boxing, sometimes.
Yeah.
So we got like better in boxing when like after like 20 years of independence from the Soviet Union. When the Soviet boxing school was just gone for us, it just remains in Russia.
I wonder if Usyk still has to fight Tyson Fury again, doesn't he, before he vacates to cruiserweight? So
yeah, I believe that we're gonna have it even this year.
okay.
But now he's occupied in Hollywood, as far as I know.
What?
Well, like everybody thinks about the next hustle. So I believe for Usyk it will be something connected with politics or like cinematography.
Oh, really?
I'm trying really hard. You know how maybe he could be like a modern day Arnold Schwarzenegger in terms that he speaks 7 words of English and he'll bust into the Hollywood stage.
You don't need lots of English. Come on.
In politics, you don't have to know the politics to be in politics.
I mean, these days, even with 7 words, that's a lot and enough for AI to help you out.
You
To
feel
deliver a
my-
message.
I feel myself. What is he very feels.
Yeah.
But I guess we can zip on from this into the era. This is your slide, right?
Nope.
Your captions? I did not write these
No.
captions.
Nope. I haven't touched the presentation at all.
Uh-huh.
I have a couple of memes, but I haven't added them to the presentation.
Oh, throw them my way. I'll get them in the final edit.
Yeah, sure. It's like the memes that can cover every news piece. That they are relevant to almost every news piece from this presentation, from this news episode. I was laughing. I stole them from the Snapper fellows. They're really good.
Yeah, they do the Lord's work.
Yes.
All right, Artem, you're itching to go, so I'm just gonna let you go.
Yeah. So captions were mine, because when we talk about Wagner, so we started talking about it as that was a real like private entity, but it's not private anymore actually. So it belongs to the Ministry of Defense of Russian Federation now, after Prigozhin is gone, and that was literally like before that, it was really like a cool like meme generator for us. But now Wagner is not the private Wagner that we knew all about, and Wagner only present outside of Russia. There is no Wagner inside of the country. So when we talk about Venezuela or like some countries in Africa, it's only there. So they participate in events where still Russia doesn't want to follow any like international rules, and technically they don't care. For them, it's just cheaper.
Oh my! Now that you mention it, I have not heard hide or hair of any Wagner units fighting anywhere close to Ukraine in a minute. And now we're seeing
Actually,
these.
I don't think that many of them are in Ukraine, because still Wagner it's like a Russian Ministry of Defense, and they're like sort of like special forces for special tasks.
Specials, they're not like Sinyej special, but they have.
Yeah, like
specific use,
more-
specific utility, I
yeah,
guess.
it's like
Yeah.
they're headed more into their faster commercial like profits, where they can have it like in Venezuela, like oil, like some gold in Africa. But in Ukraine, it's just like a conflict for years, so they don't see like a quick profit over there yet. That's why, in my opinion, Wagner is not there.
I would add to that Wagner's likely not there because Putin probably understands that his control over the Wagnerites is very untenable. So it's very thin thread. And now that they're getting to the point where I'm reading, I don't know if you guys was reading, it's like seeing the same shit or whether it's even valid, but that conscripts are now in the mix up.
Yep.
That's especially bad for Russian troop numbers, which is fantastic for everybody else. But Russia could, the Russian, I guess to your point, Artem, the armed forces could barely control Wagner, and they had spats with Wagner when it was under Prigozhin.
Yeah, but this is the entire point. So the Ministry of Defense can control Wagner because Wagner was like built up on the ideology by not by Prigozhin. They had this dude called Utkin, like real Nazi. That was the military paramilitary force of the like real white people.
Yes.
And now they have no time and resource for that. They don't know how to manage that instance. Whatever they can do the same what they do with the inside of the Ministry of Defense.
Yeah. So we have to rag on the World War III harp. I have to harp on about that because people just don't understand that this is a thing. But what happened with Wagner most recent? There was the Malian rebels incident. There was the fact that
the north of Mali.
Yes.
North of Mali, they have like real long dispute about the autonomy of the region, or at least some rights of local tribes, and tribes are not even united. So whatever we see, it just like fluctuations of success or like failure of Wagner there.
Yeah. So there was a military junta and some, a warlord took control, supported by Wagner. That comes with all the rape and the mass torture and the death that Wagner brings along, which is they're in videos on the internet where Wagnerites are just putting Africans on the ground and beating them with hammers and picks and things like that, which understandably upset the local populace, to put it mildly. So I understand that a bunch of Malian now rebels, but they're being called rebels, people that are opposed to the military junta, got together, assisted by Ukrainian intelligence forces, and they wiped, I think 100 some Wagnerites from the face of the earth, and then captured a bunch more.
Mm-hmm.
So, however, again, you say properly in Russian, fuck around to find out, they have found out. But now, I guess I'm seeing videos of Russian flags being waved in Niger and Nigeria, which is only going to go in one direction, unfortunately.
Yeah, and by the way, Niger and Mali has officially broke off the diplomatic relations with Ukraine after this claims that Ukrainian special forces helped Tuaregs in Mali to beat Wagner.
I mean, if they want to hang out with the people that are beheading the locals, then that's completely within their right for self-determination, I guess. The people that are ostensibly in charge.
Yep.
Yeah. But same thing
Also,
with
fun fact.
Now go. Give me the fun. Give us the fun facts.
Mali, the rivals. So they were a prototype for local tribes in Duna on that planet for spice.
Wait.
People with the blue eyes, like in Dune.
Oh yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So it's like Tuareg tribes, because they cover their faces like in special like fabric, and the only pigment they have is blue. But like as a metaphor for the movie or a book that was like moved into that they have like blue eyes. So Tuaregs, the real prototype of the local tribes on that planet in Dune.
And Herbert took that into account when he was writing the book, or was this just a fun coincidence?
No, it's not. It's like I read it like real like prototype that's how the idea was like.
Oh,
moved.
Okay. Cool. Well, I guess, and very fitting fashion to reflect the book, a bunch of rebels popped out of the sand and wiped out a bunch of hostile invaders off the face of the earth in a very uneven battle. So, good for them. But I guess it's also no surprise, and it should not be any surprise, that after the entire free world was announced that Maduro's election was obviously fraudulent, and the Venezuelans, who also probably knew that it was obviously fraudulent, were upset about this. You see pictures of Wagnerites in full riot gear and, probably beating and mowing down and torturing protesters in Venezuela. So, the West is very happy to say that Maduro's not the real president, but I've not heard anybody come out and say, oh, maybe it's a problem that Russian not paramilitary anymore, that Russian government forces are being deployed in South America. And that they absolutely have a hand in everything that's happened with the border because it's an election year. And that rabbit hole probably runs deep. But yes, make no mistake, America and everybody else, Wagner is very close.
Also, I read that Maduro actually left Venezuela at some point and went to Russia. His flight went to Russia. I'm not sure if he got back or went somewhere else, but initially it was claimed that he said, yeah, you're not right for doing that, for protesting, I'm leaving. And again, allegedly, he took a lot of either gold or something really valuable along with his family, and he left Venezuela.
I see a pattern here.
Yeah, exactly. That's where have we seen that? The playbook. I read it somewhere. Taking the gold that doesn't belong to you within the country, stealing the gold. Happens so many times.
Deploying Wagner or the Berkut
Exactly.
to deal with the unhappy populace. And when the dust settles and the blood runs away in the rain, then they just come back and assume power. Yeah. But does anybody remember off the top of their head where the country was where they found those spies that were literally like the show from the Americans, that were the super deep Russian spies?
With the kids?
That kids that did not speak any Russian because they did not know that they were Russian. There was just a husband and a wife deep into foreign.
So we're not talking about the recent case with Spain, right?
That was Spain. It was some Spanish-speaking country.
Yeah.
But sorry.
No, go ahead.
Okay, because I know the exact like very similar case from the United States when the Canadian couple moved to the DC, and they spied for Russia since Soviet Union, and their kids had to sue Canadian government to come back to Canada because they didn't want to be Russians.
But it's another case because these kids, they went to Mother Russia with their parents, and they were we're super happy. And you see the photos with the flowers. They've been greeted by Putin, and they're like, what is that? They don't know Russian at all. They speak only Spanish and probably English, and that's it. They were like, we're super happy.
That's gonna bite them in the ass. And of course the little girl's like, I want to be a spy like mommy. So that'll be good.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's the path for success 100%.
It is upon us, whether like it or not. This is a minor one that I tossed in just for a logistical note, because we are going to talk about trains multiple times in this one. But yeah, this is something that I've heard mixed reviews. The fact that Iran and China have now, I guess, solidified their railway cooperation involving a lot of the stands functionally to produce a hard railway track that goes, and you get the dry port in Tehran, and that will allow them to get stuff back and forth in a more logistically sound way. But that would be a direct benefit to Russia, since Iran is now saber rattling about Israel and everything else, where we're still getting this weird Western dichotomy of, despite the fact that Israel got attacked on October 7th, doing obviously ethically questionable things, is a very mild way of putting it. Others will call it genocide. the West is just throwing military resources at Israel. And Iran didn't do anything, right? They published those cringe videos of 1,000 CGI missile launchers launching rockets into Jerusalem, but I don't think Iran's actually done anything I'm aware of.
Well, but actually, like, probably we can consider it as a good sign if Iran and China build something together, because usually when countries have some like huge project with China, they appear to be in big debt to China.
So I think it's also a good sign that if that's the best friends that China has right now, and they're forced to make those friends,
It's difficult to say if China consider anything as a friend.
They don't.
Money.
Yeah.
Just resource.
I would be, if I were Putin, I would be more nervous about an invasion from the east than anything else. So,
well, he's not gonna see it most likely.
No, but I mean, the Indians also understand that China will never invade them. They just don't like having them as a neighbor. But if China were to want to start a little tiny annexation of a few cities,
if it about to happen like in the nearest future, probably they would start just with Russia.
Yes, because I also don't think that China's in a friendly, alliance with Russia regarding African influence. I think China's in there trying to suck out everything that they possibly can, and Russia's also competing for that. So there's hopefully some tension. But we'll see where this specific train goes, because as we will, I guess, discuss in the next few slides. Not ready yet, though. The things that keep me up at night and things that counterbalance that force directly. It's a remarkable time to be an American citizen right now. But I was hoping this slide would be a brief overture into, I don't know if it's a Christian nationalist thing. I don't know if it's a hyper-conservative thing. I don't know if it's an anti-woke thing. I don't know if it's an anti-globalist thing. But for whatever reason, you got all these very influential, very rich people, lots of tech bros, some politicians from highly conservative areas with religious leanings, that are very willing to just suck Russia off constantly in every single way imaginable. And I do not get it. Elon Musk is a classic example of this. He posts cringe shit like this on the daily in X or Twitter, whatever. I still can't call it X. It still sounds weird to me. And he posts shit like this thinking that he is the minority underdog resistance, the richest guy in the fucking world. It's the other thing that makes it hurt. When if you have any understanding what Russia actually is, all of these things are, I think, likely true. I fact checked some of these, and they were true. Which is just, if you want to take all the arguments raised by the Elon Musks and the David Sacks and the list is long, the Pope, family values, Christian values, the core of society, hating the gays, hating marijuana, all that stuff. Russia is not in any way representative of that. So,
Elon Musk doesn't hate marijuana.
I wouldn't put him in the Christian nationalist camp that like JD Vance is in, even though JD Vance is just a greasy money-sucking cuck. However, I'll tell you guys this, and I don't know how deep you want to dig into this discussion. I was worried about Trump. Sorry about the camera. The sun needs to decide where it's going. I was worried about Trump with this election until they pulled Biden and they picked up Waltz, and Trump chose JD Vance.
Yeah, good choice.
No, I can quote Timothy Snyder here, because he said, if Harris and Waltz are the tweet, then Trump and Vance are the comments section.
Oh God, that's a good burn. I'm gonna remember that. You're acting like the comment section right now. No, but I mean, in all honesty, though, if Trump was trying to win this election and not treat this as his personal revenge tour on the justice system, he needed a centrist camp. He needed the Arab American camp, which he ostensibly could still have. He needed the Black American camp that's disappointed with decades of Democratic leadership that really didn't do much for them at all, if anything. But he doubled down on this, JD Vance. What did he do? He went out to Silicon Valley, tried to work there for a while. That didn't work out, but he rubbed shoulders with the David Sachs and all these big rich tech bros, came back to Ohio where he's from, started a charity, which was basically a front for him running a campaign. So he was it was about, fighting Rust Belt problems, but and opioid abuse being one of them. But JD Vance's charity, air quotes, spent way more money on his campaign than they ever spent on, like harm reduction and other things that actually help opioid abuse. So the charity was very much a front. Never cared for Ukraine ever, but he also hated Donald Trump. He was a very vocal opponent of Donald Trump, calling him, all sorts of nasty names. He's a threat. He's not a Republican. He's not a real candidate. And then as soon as Trump picks him, he has a come to Jesus moment, kissed the ring, sold his soul and his integrity, and now he's Trump's attack dog. Just the worst.
Well,
but Trump already had those people. None of those people needed to be sold on Trump. He needed the Nikki Haley supporters and the Never Trumpers, which JD Vance does the opposite of that. So,
yeah, Nikki Haley would have way bigger chance against Harris than Trump at the moment.
Correct. Because, Nikki Haley would have had a better chance against Biden, even.
Yeah, sure.
Just by the merit that she's younger, even. Ignore everything else. She doesn't require a cognitive exam to run for the presidency. So, again. So I'm deeply, deeply hoping this is like whatever the GOP is now in name. They're having their Hillary Clinton 2016 moment, and they put the wrong person in the chair. And then by the time the next election rolls around, Trump will be too old, and MAGA will have completely consumed itself. So
yeah, and for Trump, probably it's the last campaign he can do. Now he's older than the Biden candidate was.
Correct.
For the previous election, so most likely.
Which is why everybody that has to swallow the Kamala Harris pill, they feel better about the Waltz aftertaste, but it's also the fact that the active presidential candidate is not that close to literal cognitive decline and senility. So, and I love reading stuff like this about JD Vance has the worst polling for a VP pick in the history of VP picks. This is not modern history. This is in the entire history of our single American government. I think he was 2 to 3x times lower than the previous record. I think the previous lower record was a -5% approval rating or something like that, where president picks somebody and their approval rating goes, and 5% in a presidential poll is huge. That is decisive numbers. JD Vance tanked 15%. 15, 16. Yes. So, and Trump, for whatever reason, is also just fucking up on camera constantly now. He's taken that job off of Biden's hands completely. Very kind of him. Let room with it.
Well, the man knows how to help himself. That interview was like African American audience.
Yeah.
Saying like black jobs.
Yes, I was gonna bring that up. You saw that reference. Oh my gosh.
We're like, what is black job? What is black job? Like, no one knows what is black job. And the same time we have this short reels on YouTube where Morgan Freeman is saying stop calling it History Month, because just call me as Morgan Freeman, and I would call you by your name, but not with a reference to your skin color.
Yeah. If you haven't watched the YouTube shorts about the parody debates, there was Shane Gillis and some other comedian. They were Trump and Biden, and they watched people do stand-up comedy sets, and they took random questions from the audience. And there were some funny moments. It's a long-ass show. It's 3-4 hours. I didn't watch it, but the clips are good. And one of them is the exact same thing. This black guy comes up and he's like, "Yo, what the fuck is Trump? You're talking about black jobs." And Shane McGillis is, his face is literally painted orange. He does a good Trump impression. He's like, black jobs. I would say the Mexicans are taking the black jobs. They're loud on public transportation. So, nobody knows because everybody understands that. Trump's trying to get the black vote and trying to win some of that faith back from decades of failed Democratic leadership. But I'm sincerely hoping that this train just keeps going downhill before it crashes in November. So,
like they have a bit of time for that. But like if we like again, like it's about JD Vance, the like interesting funny part about that it's like Trump like personal choice. So it's not like connected to the polls. He doesn't care about the polls. He's interested in the person.
yeah, I thought he was smarter than that. He used to be playing a smarter game. With Hillary Clinton, he played a smarter game. Now he's on a revenge tour. He's not making good choices anymore.
But
So-
like,
What's
Sorry,
the
go
end
ahead.
game? Sorry, Tim. I just don't get, because at the very beginning he was like, "Oh, Trump had a lot of supporters. He was succeeding," and then he went, just at some point he went downhill, because now celebrities, U.S. celebrities, they endorsing Kamala Harris significantly with money, and Trump just, I saw a couple of clips, him saying like that Kamala Harris is a bitch.
Yes. I mean, JD Vance is Rust Belt, but again, he represents the wrong population from the Rust Belt. He doesn't represent the centrists that Trump needed from Ohio and Pennsylvania and Michigan. Those are the people that Trump needs to win. People like, you know, I don't know, people that I guess would come from the more rural areas, and they hated Joe Biden, but Joe Biden's now gone. And they hate Kamala Harris, but Joe Waltz is now a reasonable guy. So they're going to try to smear the shit out of Waltz before the election. But then he needs the Rust Belt votes badly. But again, if JD Vance is completely the wrong population for this. I have no idea why he did this. However, I guess JD Vance does have connections to Silicon Valley tech money, which also Trump desperately needs because his campaign's very underfunded. So maybe, but again, optics just terrible. And every time JD Vance and Trump open their mouths, the optics just gets worse. So I'm willing to, I'd love to watch this dumpster fire just go all the way back into the station. Dumpster fire of a train, rather. So, yeah, MAGA once again can go fuck itself, maggots. And we get to the meat of the news. Oh my god,
Finally.
the revenge of the submarine.
yeah,
Because-
but like it seems very similar to me.
Those poor bastards that Putin left at the bottom of the ocean to die slowly of asphyxiation because he wouldn't
Yeah,
let
that was
the Navy
like-
help.
That was August of 2000, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
In
Yeah.
Kursk.
It was
So it
brand
was
new.
like-
Yeah,
Yeah, and that was the first probably big failure of Russian like military.
they never lost a
like-
submarine or anything like that before. No.
Yeah. Yeah, and like during his like this famous interview to the Americans, he said like the boat just gone, and so many people like, and they refused like take help from Americans, and like
Yes.
we don't know that for sure that this time that their Minister of Defense called Lloyd Austin, so those are just rumors.
Yeah,
but we can assume it.
Hey.
And now we see the city that is mentioned here is Suja, and like it's popping up a lot in Ukrainian media. But the funny part is that Suja started as a fortress, and as you can see on the old map here, like fortress is like headed to the north. And why do we need a fortress in somewhere like half territory headed to the north against whom? So that was like former Ukrainian, like probably village. Now it's like 5-6K of population,
Yeah.
which appeared after the 1922 on the Russian side of the border.
For those listening, we're making an allegory. We're making a reference to the Kursk tragedy of 2000. Google it, because it was a very public showing and display of Russian cruelty and failure to their own kind. Go for it.
Yeah. So and they do the same. It's like just like after the Prigozhin, like literally the showcase what to do on the Russian territory because there is not nothing to stop anyone.
We'll get to that. So,
Because there is no Prigozhin, but there is still his I don't know, like
Ghost.
something a bit more than PowerPoint presentation. how to deal with an issue just on Russian territory because they have like they are weaker there. They are outnumbered there.
Also,
And
just I'm sorry, just I'm dying to say that because you referenced Kursk and what Putin said about like it's just about it happened. The same attitude is happening right now because right now Russian bloggers, this lifestyle bloggers, air quoting lifestyle bloggers, they are all look the same. They promote something, I don't know, Botox or something like that, and they launched this flash mob saying that I'm just using gummy bears for the reference. They use some kind of other candy. The flash mob is showing one candy out of the box of candies and saying that it's only 1%. One candy is only 1% out of the whole box, saying that the size of the cyst territory is only 1%. So it doesn't matter on the scale of Mother Russia. So the same attitude, like they don't care about people and they are not afraid to show that.
I saw my last estimate was 450 square kilometers of territory taken by the Ukrainians that are now digging in, as Artem very correctly said, to a place that is perfect for this kind of fortification. Using I found a map. I found many maps. I was very excited about this. But if we consider the reality that Russia is really just St. Petersburg and Moscow, this is not 1%. But I understand why they want to internally direct attention away from the fact that this could be disastrous. I'm not trying, being cautious, but if they hold that hill, if the Ukrainians hold that hill, this becomes a radically different war moving forward. I'm getting goosebumps as I say this.
Well, I believe it's already a different war. First of all, we have fantastic reaction from the Americans.
Yes.
And this is fantastic reaction. It's like nothing happened. It's completely different. And for the first time in our history, we have the example when the non-nuclear country invades and to some degree succeeds in invading the super nuclear power.
You absolutely succeeded. There is no
first time in the history.
I don't know. It's just so many memes about this around the internet. I love the Russians that are bitching, the Russians that know they're not fighting NATO too. That's the other thing. To your point, Ira, about the Telegram channels, they're saying, how are we going to fight with NATO if we're losing to the Ukrainians? I mean, they're using ethnic slurs to regard.
They don't have to if they lose to Ukrainians.
Correct. That's but I love it when you see these pictures of Prigozhin saying shit like, he even knew back in the day, and to this whole overarching point of Russians just being willing to wipe each other off the map. Prigozhin called it. He said, if we don't create a sanitary zone, which is just a buffer zone functionally in Kharkiv, then they're going to be doing it. The Russians will have to do it on their own territory in Kursk and Belgorod, which they're absolutely right. Because what was it? They went straight to Suja, if I remember correctly, and please correct me if I'm wrong, just blitzed to Suja. And the reason they blitzed over to Suja is because Suja is a high hill. All of the red in this map is high terrain, and which would make sense for a walled city. It's where you build walled cities. But not only is that a high hill, they held that and they went directly up north into, I guess, what is it called? Yeah, up to Malaya Lochnia and Kornevo and things like that. But the overall purpose and the significance of them holding Suja is manifold, because what it does is it shuts down half of the railway logistics system for the entire northern front of
big hit on
the Russians. Correct. So now, because there's the Lgov, I forgot.
The Lgov Belgorod railway.
Lgov Belgorod. That shit. Basically, if they're holding Suja, if the Ukrainians continue to hold Suja, they have a direct firing line on that railroad, which Russia have already seen. I don't know if you guys have been seeing this either. Rumors that the Russian railway system is also just inches from, self-destructing. Hopefully that's true. But Nothing is getting through to anywhere down outside the Sumy Oblast, outside the Kharkiv Oblast, and probably even down closer to Luhansk if the Ukrainians are holding Suja, which means now everything has to go around and down through Rostov-on-Don. Completely different war. And I understand that several Russian mechanized divisions have already been pulled from the southern and the eastern fronts to try to alleviate the situation, and that's not helping. So the Patrick meme, Biden said that they couldn't shoot across the border, so just pick up the border and put it somewhere else. And there.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if Russians now would concentrate their attention on Crimean Bridge, because it's also the big logistics part of Crimea, because Suja is taking its part. Oh, the part is taken from the east of Ukraine.
No, but see, you're being smart.
Well, we'll see. But the problem is we had plenty of attempts on the bridge, they were not very successful yet.
Yeah, but the Russians are also trying to do pushes. I mean, there was several. They tried to do amphibious landings outside of Kherson, and they got wiped out doing that. There was a reconnaissance group from Sinyezh, which is, in my understanding, the elite of the elite of the elite of the Russian military special forces recon. And there's a recon volunteer group in Chernihiv, just through their several pictures of their bodies and all the cool shit that they collected from them up on Telegram and Twitter. So the Russians, it's not like they're not trying. This war is not over, but that's a huge fulcrum.
Well, that's cool.
It's very cool.
But that's something we have the news with the 2-day lag. Because we don't know, for the first 4 days, that we understand that probably Ukrainians are doing something, but no one is talking about that officially.
Well, yeah, your government is completely silent on this, which is lovely. I always love that.
You're
doing an
silence is good.
Yes.
And Russians are not really loud about that as well, because if they succeeded somewhere, at least for 2 centimeters, thank you very much. That's big help. That dude is a real Ukrainian supporter.
But they started, Russians in Kursk Oblast started giving the interviews and saying that, of course, they cannot lose to Ukrainians. So they started saying that they've heard Poles, French, militants. So it's probably NATO, or how do they call that, foreign mercenaries or something like that. I don't know. French? Why French? Why Poles?
Napoleon and 1607 when Poles just burned Moscow. That's why.
Okay.
So that's a pattern they are ready for.
Stepan Bandera on a donkey.
Yeah, it's not. That meme says it's not the copium; it's copenetyl. This thing is 100 times stronger than copium, because copium is not enough already.
No, I get as an American, I just we have a secret pager that you get that tells you when Navy SEALs are deployed to the front lines, and it's been 20,000 American Navy SEAls lost. So to the credit, but. This is the other thing that, again, Artem, to your point about the Crimean Bridge, I understand that's what the smart people would do. But the reality of the situation is that to combat the panic, you have the candy gummy bear situation, but you also have this indescribable need to just geolocate, photograph, and video everything that's going on within HIMARS range on live TV. As this guy, for people listening, this guy in YouTube, what they did is they, basically standing in front of a sign, a very huge recognizable sign that says Kursk. It's a railway bridge, which is also very easy to find. And you see these lovely colonnade cars of tanks and things moving along this bridge on a live broadcast. This guy saying, "Yo, look, it's okay. We got tanks coming." Similar news, the HIMARS, campaign culminated in one of the deadliest strikes of the entire war, as described by Russian military telegram people, saying that because they had a column of, I want to say at least a dozen, maybe more, 13, 14 KAMAZs. A KAMAZ is a large multi-purpose Russian military truck with a canopy that usually carries supplies and or just armed dudes. And in this case, it was a shit ton of armed dudes that just got deleted by one HIMARS strike. Something like 490 extremely well-equipped Russian soldiers just gonzo. Because these idiots continue to geolocate themselves.
Yeah.
Thank the risen Lord that they continue to do it, though. And even if it's not 490, that's a lot of dudes. Like, the conscripts aren't going to fight for this shit. Conscripts are.
Russians said something about 450. That's from their media, but we don't know the real numbers.
It's the score for that specific strike is 400 something to 0. So
yeah,
the
because
Russians,
it's like, who's counting then?
the Russians aren't. That's for sure.
They're not there. Russians are not there to count.
Well, that's my point. Is that they're not there to count, and they don't give a shit either way. So they have to give a made up number to Putin. There was that other. I didn't dig into this interview either, but the interviewer is it Gerasimov is very clearly understating the problem, and Putin seems very upset.
That is why actually there's not only in Kursk and Belgrade, but they also declared a counter-terrorist operation in Kursk, Belgrade, and Bryansk, which is like 3 major neighboring regions to non-occupied territories, and which means that the operation went under Federal Security Service, also known as FSB, rather than the Defense Ministry of Russia.
The flip side, though, being that because this is not the SMO, right, the special military operation that's being conducted in Ukraine, is what the Russians call it. Anybody that dies now as part of the counterterrorism is not in any way subject to any of the bonuses or payouts that people that die on the Ukrainian side of the border would receive. Therefore, I think that's where you're seeing a lot more of these mass surrenderings going on. What was it that you guys took? 50, 60 people at one point in time? It was just like a peak surrendering. Like, you invaded a hostile country that had invaded you, and you just took like several dozen of them hostage in multiple instances, something like that.
Yeah, mostly border control.
Well, these are FSB people. They weren't just like pre-cordon. They weren't like border dudes. They were, as far as I'm aware, FSBashnika.
It's also possible. Well, probably they will be exchanged.
Super.
At some point.
I mean, sure, let them come back. Like, they're going to beg to stay in Ukraine, but you know, the people that are, I think, would then be pulled in. We're coming back to the conscript discussion. My understanding of the Russian military is that there's 2 levels. There's the 2-year contract types. We're ignoring the people that are mobilized. There's the 2-year contract types, which are better equipped, better trained. Lots of them are already dead. Because, you know, the jails are basically empty at this point. I think they pulled all the people out of the jails that they could have pulled out. So the Wagnerite pulling people from jails isn't super viable anymore. And okay, maybe among the people that are full contract professional soldiers, those are the ones that are signing for longer contract. They get the better equipment and training and shit like that. Okay, some of those ones that are alive, I guess, that remain alive, if they remain alive after some years in Ukraine, would be considered to be soldiers. But these conscripts, my understanding is that it's a 1-year term. If your family can't pay to get you out of the army in general, because you have to serve, and there's just it's pure grunt work. There's no funding, no training, and these are now the people that are getting pushed to react to this counterterrorism situation, quote unquote.
Yeah. They have a very different supply from those who are in Ukraine right now.
Correct. And the supply is only going to get worse because Ukraine now has direct line of fire over a large part of the railway there in the southeastern line. I think it's called the southeastern line. Yes.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the southeastern line. But these are things that, you know, we could look into. But exciting times. It's hard for me to work, frankly. But hopefully this will prevent another Whoaaa can prevent another things like that. So
we'll see. Because still all the sites are short on the manpower. It's not enough. for us, not enough for them.
I still deeply believe that you do not have to beat the Russians in numbers.
Yeah, it's not about the numbers. It's about the management, supply, the logistic, and the tech part that we can use now finally, because tech is growing like exponentially for us, and it's not managed by the government. And this is a good part about that.
Yes, but and adding to that previous point, that I don't think whenever there will be some, I guess you guys refer to it as a force majeure. I would refer to it, I guess, as a not a Deus ex machina, but some significant event is going to occur on the Russian side. Putin gets on the back of the head. He, I don't know, announces something that's actually so idle that people just can't even listen to it anymore. A critical mass of officers die. Something is going to happen, I think, that is going to cause mass numbers of troops, Russian troops, in the Ukrainian front lines to just turn tail and run. I do not think when that house of cards falls that it's going to be a kilometer by kilometer, artillery for artillery battle. Because once their motivation, whatever motivation that they have, crumbles, there's some kind of structure that will crumble there. Whether it's the fucking Chechens leave and they stop shooting in the back, whether it's logistics fails, whether it's Putin dies, whether it's whatever, that you guys will do exactly what you're doing here, because as this shows, as soon as you punch through the lines, it's just open field and you can go. Once that happens, you'll be able to take it all back in a matter of days, not months. Here's hoping.
Right. It will at some point.
That's what I mean. Blow up the Crimea bridge, stop the other line, get F-16s working well, get the aviation in there. Russia has just sold a bunch of its S-400s to Iran. So super, they can give away all the militech that they want to.
Good for them.
To the Middle East. So that means the Americans will then consequently destroy it. So
yeah, probably about some small conflict near the Lebanese border.
Yeah.
No, I'm fine with that. As American taxpayer, I hope Russia gives all their shit to Iran, like all of it. I hope the Ayatollah comes to Putin, goes under his desk, and gives him the offer that he needs for Putin to dump all the resources that he can into that shit desert, and then America will just predator drone the shit out of it. I'd love to see it happen.
I still want to see what happens with this relatively new union of Russia and North Korea, because they are using North Korean ballistic missiles with 500 kilograms warheads.
Yes.
They are not that good, but Russia still gets them on a regular basis.
Correct. I've seen a few videos of North Korean artillery ammunition banana peeling Russian howitzers. So, God willing. But if they're surrendering on their own territory en masse, hoping it's a sign of good things to come. But
always. But also that funny that Russia created this organization, some sort of native for former Soviet losers, and none of them is saying even anything. Like not even like brave tweet on X.com.
Jackson Hinkle, Kim.com, Ian Chong.
Yeah, like nothing. All these like Belarus, like Armenia, Kazakhstan, they're not saying anything like.
No. But Belarus is saying Lukashenko just stopped this radio silence. He went to Moscow for 48 hours, and now he's allegedly moving some of his troops closer to our border because our UAVs were in their airspace for some time. Again, allegedly they were, and allegedly he is moving. So he said something, but not very loudly. But yes, no one else. All of these friends of Russia, they are silent.
I've only seen a few stray tweets about, the UN doesn't care that Russian citizens are being all that shit. Like,
no way.
No, the American response I'm actually deeply proud of. The guy, did you see the original video
Well, partly.
Yeah, he's just like, if Ukraine feels that it's in their interest to conduct that operation, it's not in the United States' I guess, purview to determine what is appropriate and what is not.
Like even Germany is fine with that.
Yeah. I was like, what?
Wonders.
Yes.
Like infantry machines are there, like on the Russian soil again. Like, okay, fine, but sure, no problem.
Yeah, I mean, that's what they deem appropriate. So, like,
it happened before. Why not now? We've been there. Like German machines have been there.
There was I'm gonna find the meme for when I make this video, but there's the meme of two people passing the cars and looking at each other. Yes, there's the meme of like Russian T-34s in 1941 meeting at Kursk, T-34s in 2024.
Yeah, somewhere.
Fucking museum piece material. That's good. We might have to just have like a meme hall of fame on our website. There's just too much. We can't lose this to the internet. Like my bookmarks in Twitter are just a disaster.
Yeah, we need to have a page for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we will.
But again, it should this page should have different categories because eventually there will be a lot of materials.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna avoid trying to shape that right now because we're getting too close to my day to day.
Memeing around.
Memeing around.
Meme around and find out.
Mafo. I don't know. I want a Muga cap. I still want a Muga cap. Yeah, if I go to America, I can buy you both Muga caps. Do you want Muga caps? No. You didn't. Oh my God, you didn't see. This is the last time I heard Marjorie Taylor Greene like burp something out. She was bitching about in front of Capitol Hill or something about all this money going to Ukraine, blah blah blah. The normal Russian shit that she does. So she got a cap made that was blue called Muga, like make Ukraine great again. And Satan Javelin took it and ran with it, and they published a whole line of these hats. They're like, I mean, yeah, sure, why not? That's what we're doing. We're just using all this money to make Ukraine great again. Oh, so why don't we just make Ukraine great again? Sure.
Yeah, $20 to $20.
Why not? So I'd wear a Muga hat. Oh boy. Well, actually, no. I'd rather have a hat that's like make her that in support of the Kursk National People's Republic. But I wonder if there are any petitions to the UN for a referendum in the Kursk National People's Republic.
There were also like sarcastic comments from Ukrainians towards Russian liberals that they said at the very beginning, oh, you live in another country, Ukraine is another country, show us how to fight against Putin. And it's like, okay, we're here, here's what you have to do. Why are you not doing anything?
How much more help do you need?
Yes, how much? We showed you. Okay, we came to you.
I haven't seen those. Right. I don't have anything else, friends. Anybody have any final points or memes?
Nope. But I'll find this meme with two people passing each other.
Yes.
In the car.
We will coordinate this in post. But all right. Thank you for the chat. Have a great rest of your Sunday.
Oh, we're done.
Do you have something else?
No, like I just see the same slide on my screen all the time.
I don't think we have any other slides. That's the last one.
Okay. Okay. Nice.